Hello everyone, this is Giraffe. Today we are going to talk about the Stonehenge. There's actually been some big news recently about Stonehenge. This news completely overturns what we thought we knew up till now. Stonehenge is a circular structure made up of dozens of massive stone pillars located on the Great Plain in Wiltshire, southern England. It's one of the world's most famous mysterious prehistorical stone monuments, right up there with the pyramids. Actually, it was built around the same time as the pyramids too, about 5,000 years ago. And of course, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the UK's most famous landmarks. Millions of tourists visit it every year. Most of the stones you see today have already fallen over. Originally, it probably looked something like this. The stone circle is about 30 meters in diameter. You can also see the original Stonehenge on Google Maps. Wait, is that the original on Google Maps? Yes, there's actually a life-size replica of Stonehenge in the US in Washington state. It's called the Mary Hill Stonehenge. It was built about 100 years ago by a wealthy American businessman named Samuel Hill. As a memorial to World War I veterans, it's an exact replica of Stonehenge. But instead of stone, it was made of concrete. Now, looking at Stonehenge, I wonder if you get this strange feeling. When you look out, there's nothing around it for miles. Just this stone circle standing there. And actually, for thousands of years, it's probably always been like this. Nothing around it, just these massive stones, awkward standing on this plain. Who built it? What was it for? Nobody knows for sure to this day. Or rather, it is still debated. When it was built though, we pretty much know that now. Recently, during archaeological excavations at Stonehenge, they discovered a large number of skulls beneath it. Animal bones and human bones, mostly animal bones and mostly pig bones. As for human bones, the vast majority had been burned. Almost all of them were adult males, no women, no children. Among them, two relatively complete human skeletons showed no signs of burning. One had been decapitated, the other shot dead with arrows. How do we know the one shot with arrows was killed that way? Because arrowheads were still embedded in his bones. They buried him without removing the arrowheads. The arrowheads were made of stone, not metal, because 5,000 years ago, Britain was still in the Stone Age, not metal yet. Stone arrowheads could actually pierce into bone. Yes, that's another incredible detail. Those arrowheads weren't particularly sharp, yet they managed to lodge themselves into the bone. What does that tell us? That the bones weren't very strong? No, it means that person was shot at extremely close range, and one of the arrows entered from behind and went all the way through to the front, embedded in the bone on the other side. That suggests the distance was incredibly close. But were stone arrows that sharp? Not at all, which is why the distance had to be so close. The bow was drawn to its fullest, and he was killed at point-blank range. Based on the angle the arrows entered, analysts believe he was kneeling at the time. Given the context, it feels like an execution scene or a sacrifice, like this person was used as an offering. Now, using radiocarbon dating on these bones and some organic materials found underground, researchers estimate that Stonehenge began to be constructed around 3100 BC. But back in 3100 BC, they hadn't yet started building the stone structure. First, they built a circular earthwork, a bank and a ditch enclosure about 100 meters in diameter, Stonehenge sits on top of that circular earthwork. The earthwork was built around 5,100 years ago. Once the earthwork was finished, they left it for 500 years before actually placing the stones on top. That kind of spin suggests it probably wasn't the same group of people, yet they were carrying out the same project. Or maybe the people building the Stonehenge just lived exceptionally long lives, over 500 years, and then the stones themselves were rearranged over a period of another 1,000 years, moved around in various configurations until they ended up the way they are now. After that, they were never moved again, and they've stayed that way ever since. So the shape changed depending on its purpose? Yes, that's the sense you get. Nobody knows exactly why they kept adjusting it, but they kept adjusting it. The big stones didn't move much, though it was mostly the smaller stones inside that got repositioned. Interestingly, the time they started arranging the big stones at the Stonehenge coincides almost exactly with the time the Egyptians began building the pyramids. Two different groups of people, for unknown reasons, both started moving massive stones at around the same time. Quite a coincidence. It almost feels like something was happening back then, like people all over the world suddenly figure out how to move and arrange enormous stones. Now, even though today we only see maybe 20 or 30 prominent standing stones at Stonehenge, originally it was made up of over 160 massive stones. Some of the missing stones have fallen over and are buried underground. Others were hauled away by local residents in the 19th century to build houses, and the Stonehenge we see today actually underwent a major restoration in the 1950s and 1960s. Apparently, back in the day, visitors could walk right up to the stones and touch them, but then people started pushing them, and some even tried to chip off pieces to take home. Eventually, they fenced the whole thing off. Now you can only view it from a distance. These hundreds of massive stones are mainly of two types. One type is the largest ones we see today, the grayish white stones, called sarsen stones, or gray sandstone. These stones weigh an average of 20 to 30 tons and are about 4 to 5 meters long. The tallest one, still standing above ground, is over 7 meters high. The largest stone in the entire Stonehenge structure isn't actually inside the main circle. It's over here. This stone is called the heel stone. It weighs between 35 and 40 tons and stands 4.7 meters tall. This stone looks completely unworked, like it was just dropped there. But actually, it wasn't placed randomly. It was positioned very precisely. What's its purpose? I will get to it when I talk about what the Stonehenge was used for. These multi-ton sarsen stones make up about half of Stonehenge. That's over 80 tons, and they are not local. They were quarried from a mountain about 25 miles away, around 40 kilometers from here. How do we know they came from there? The composition of the stones matches the rocks in that mountain exactly. There's no other source of this type of stone nearby. So here's the question: how did they transport this 20 to 30 ton and even nearly 40 ton monstrous rocks? Keep in mind, 4,600 years ago, there were people living in Britain, but they were hunter-gatherers, living off hunting and foraging. No agriculture. So most of them lived in small tribes. These tribes weren't large, maybe 100 people at most, and This was the Stone Age. No writing, no metal tools, no wheels, with almost no useful tools. How did they even cut these rocks out of the mountain in the first place? That's the first puzzle. These rocks weren't all neatly shaped into 20 to 30-ton blocks, just sitting there waiting to be picked up. They had to cut them out of the mountain, split enormous boulders into the sizes they wanted, then transport them back. How did they cut them out of the mountain? Researchers are still studying this, and they are baffled. One theory is that they used stones to create cracks in the rock. Let's say they wanted a slab this wide. They would hammer cracks into it, but you can't just pry it open. You have no metal hammers or anything. So they would shove dry wooden wedges into the cracks and wait for rain. When it rained, the wood would absorb water and swell, possibly splitting the rock apart. If they wedged in enough wood, it's plausible. Once the stone was extracted, they would have to shape it, grind it down into slabs 4 or 5 meters long and 2 to 3 meters thick, then use logs as rulers to move these boulders 40 kilometers over hills and across valleys to this site. Theoretically, it's possible. In reality, it's incredibly difficult. There were no rules. Although Stonehenge and the pyramids were built around the same time, there's a huge difference between them. Egypt, where the pyramids are, had a civilization. It had a population of 200,000 people. They could work for decades and build pyramids. Here, you have a tribe of 100 people and 40-ton boulders. How do you even get them out of the mountains? Those 100 people need to eat, but they have no agriculture, no surplus food. Egypt had agriculture. They could support large workforces. Plus, Egypt had already entered the Bronze Age. They had bronze tools, metal implements. Here, they had nothing. Those eras were stone-tipped, a bunch of wild men. How did they pull this off? Besides their size, these sarsen stones have another remarkable feature. Look at how they are arranged. 2 uprights with one across the top. The tops of the upright stones are carved into protruding tenons. You can clearly see them sticking out. And the horizontal stones have 2 circular sockets carved into them, which fit perfectly over those tenons, mortise and tenon joints. This kind of joinery in megalithic structures is extremely rare worldwide. These sarsen stones are full of quartz, incredibly hard. What did they use to carve them? If they were carving quartz with quartz, how long would it take to shape one stone into a bow tenon and carve a matching socket in another? It's almost like massive stone Legos. This engineering is what has kept these stones standing for millennia. And the outer circle, the horizontal stones, are all linked together. Those lintels are also joined with mortise and tenon joints. One set tenons into the next, locking them together so they don't fall. All mortise and tenon. That's amazing. You probably thought they just sat there on top. So it's rock solid. The level of craftsmanship required was enormous, time-consuming and labor-intensive. But it feels like to them, working these massive stones was no different from working wood. They truly mastered stone. Of course, sarsen isn't as hard as granite or basalt, so the pyramids were probably even harder to build. The Egyptians carved granite sarcophagi. If they could do that, they were operating on another level. But given how primitive this society was, Stonehenge is just as mind-boggling. Alright, so besides those massive 20 to 30-ton sarsen stones, there are also some smaller stones inside the circle. These smaller ones are called blue stones or blue sandstone. They are called that because when they get wet, they turn blue, a deep blue. These stones are much smaller than the sarsens, standing about 2 to 3 meters tall, with each weighing between 2 and 4 tons also. Compared to the sarsens, they are tiny, but each one still weighs as much as a smaller car. And they were transported here from a place 225 kilometers away from Stonehenge, over 80 of them, 4 tons each, 225 kilometers, 80 blocks, no wheels, just rolled here on logs. For a hunter-gatherer tribe, 225 kilometers was beyond their known world. 40 kilometers, that might have been within their range. If they went hunting, they could travel maybe 40 kilometers in a day and still make it back. But 225 kilometers, that was another world entirely. Yet somehow, they pinpointed that exact location, quarried those stones, and brought them all the way back here. Wait, could the blue stone have been there locally 5,000 years ago? Probably not. Geology doesn't change that much. Think about it. Stonehenge has been standing here for thousands of years, and its surrounding environment hasn't changed much at all. So why go through all that trouble to bring those stones from 225 kilometers away? Well, in British folklore, blue stones were said to have healing properties, the power to cure illness, and even bring the dead back to life. They might have actually believed that these stones had such powers, and that belief drove them to travel vast distances, guided by the sun, moon, and the stars, crossing mountains and valleys. It might have taken a year or two just to haul them back, even if it meant neglecting hunting and risking starvation. They were willing to do, even if it meant death. And venturing into lands beyond their known territory meant entering someone else's hunting grounds. Getting there could get them killed by arrows. Still, they went. Looking at the choice of stones and the distance they traveled, you get this intense sense of dissonance. You have their primitive productivity, their primitive social structure, and then this incredible logistical capability, this spatial awareness, this physical force, this transport capacity. It feels like two different groups of people did this. But back then, Britain was only inhabited by that one group of people. If this had been done by the Egyptians, it wouldn't be so strange. Egypt was a civilization, a unified state with a large population, and the Egyptian kingdom was vast. They knew where to find different materials, and they could locate them accurately. Plus, with agriculture supporting them, workers didn't have to worry about food. It's plausible. But in Britain at that time, there was no state, just hunter-gatherer tribes. For them to quarry stones and go without food, that defies human nature. Okay, so besides the sarsens and the blue stones, there's one more stone at Stonehenge, and its composition is different from all the others. Right in the very center, there's a stone called the altar stone. This altar stone is now buried underground. It's about 2 meters long and weighs around 6 tons. It might have originally stood upright and then fallen over and been buried, or maybe it was always lying flat and got covered over time. This stone's composition is unique. It doesn't match any of the others. Earlier studies suggested it might have been quarried from a mountain about 120 kilometers away, where the rocks have a similar composition. Now, let's get to the news. On August 14, 2024, a joint British-Australian research team published a paper in the famous scientific journal Nature. They said that after using the latest compositional analysis techniques on the outer stone at Stonehenge, they discovered that this stone did not come from a site 120 kilometers away as previously thought. It actually came from a site over 750 kilometers away. That's in the eastern part of Scotland, practically the northernmost part of Britain. A 6-ton stone transported from 750 kilometers away. Just this one stone brought all that distance. This completely overturns what we thought we knew, right? The more you study Stonehenge, the more mysteries pile up. 750 kilometers. Most researchers now believe that transporting it over land would have been impossible, by air even more impossible. So how? They must have gone by sea. They would have quarried it from the mountain, hauled it to the coast, loaded it onto a boat, sealed it here, then hauled it another 50 kilometers overland to Stonehenge. That would make the total sea journey over 1,000 kilometers. But going by sea presents its own huge problems. When we talk about the pyramids, we mentioned how they move 80-ton stones 700 or 800 kilometers down the Nile River. But a river and the sea are completely different. Rivers are relatively stable. They have a current. If you go with the flow, you don't need much effort. The sea isn't stable. There's no fixed current to transport a 6-ton stone across rough, turbulent seas. That would require some seriously advanced seafaring skills. That's not something you would expect from a Stone Age culture or a hunter-gatherer tribe. The truth is, even the British themselves don't know how Stonehenge was built, because the ancestors of modern Britons are the Celts. When they arrived in this area, Stonehenge was already here. They said it was built by the people before them. All they had were legends. No one knows who really built it. And as I mentioned at the beginning, after the stones were brought here, they were rearranged over and over again for nearly 1,000 years before settling into their current positions. It feels like moving these massive stones wasn't that hard for them. It's not like we imagine, with cranes and modern equipment. It seems like they could move them whenever they wanted. Today I will feel like putting it here, tomorrow I will move it over there, just like that. It gives you the feeling that they must have had some kind of convenient tool or method that we don't know about. Something that made the whole process much easier. Interestingly, there are records of such a convenient tool in old British texts. One book from the 12th century called The History of the Kings of Britain mentions Stonehenge. It says that King Arthur had a wizard named Merlin. Merlin used the power of giants to move the stones from Ireland to Britain and build Stonehenge. That's what the book says anyway. So, according to legend, it was magic or giants. Merlin was said to be the child of a princess and a demon. So, he was born with the magical powers and the ability to see the future. As for what Stonehenge was actually used for, there are a few theories. The first is that it might have been an accident calendar. Earlier, I mentioned the hailstone. It wasn't placed randomly. Why? because every year on the summer solstice, if you stand at the center of Stonehenge and look toward the huge stone, you will see the sun rise directly above it, marking the summer solstice. And if you look in the opposite direction, you will see the sunset on the winter solstice. So, Stonehenge clearly marks the two most important days of the year. You have also noticed that the outer circle has 30 massive certain stones, creating 30 gaps, possibly representing the 30 days of a month. If you count 12 circles, that's 360. The 5 trilithon, those door-like structures in the center, could represent 5 extra days, making 365. And there are 4 station stones placed at the corners outside the main circle. If you incorporate them into the calculation, you can account for leap years, adding 1 extra day every 4 years. That means the people who built Stonehenge 5,000 years ago had an incredibly precise understanding of time. They knew exactly how long it takes for the Earth to orbit the Sun. Their astronomical knowledge was remarkably advanced. So they went through all that trouble to haul those stones just to use 5 to represent 5 days. That's one hypothesis. If it was a calendar, that might have been its purpose. Those 5 trilithons in the center look a bit like Japanese torii gates. In Japan, torii gates mark the entrance to a sacred realm. Once you pass through, you have entered the realm of the gods. Whether Stonehenge has a similar function, no one knows. The second theory about Stonehenge's purpose is that it might have been a massive ritual or sacrificial site, because beneath it they have found large quantities of butchered animal bones, which fits the pattern of ritual activity. And the sheer number of pig bones is particularly suggestive of ritual sacrifice. Texts show that all the pigs were the same age, 9 months old, young pigs, so they were slaughtered in September every year, all the same size, not wild. But here's the strange part. These pigs, along with some cattle and sheep, came from areas up to 1,000 kilometers away, not local. That means people traveled enormous distances, bringing their own livestock, walking for months, to come here and offer sacrifices. Earlier I said that 40 kilometers was probably beyond their known world. Yet, people from over 1,000 kilometers away knew this place existed. Why did they feel the need to come here? And it's not just animals. I mentioned the human remains earlier. Besides those who were burned, there are also burials. People were actually interned here, and based on the grave goods found with them, these people also came from up to 1,000 kilometers away. Why would someone travel 1,000 kilometers just to die here? Or why would someone transport a body all that way? It would take months, an enormous, arduous journey. Why was it so important to be buried here? There are 2 main theories about why they went to such lengths to bring bodies here. One explanation, as I mentioned earlier, is that the blue stones were believed to have the power to resurrect the dead. People might have believed in this power so strongly that when an important family member died, they would transport the body here, hoping for a chance at revival. Or perhaps injured people came here, seeking healing, believing this place had supernatural powers, only to die here instead. It was their last hope, their final chance at life. The second explanation has nothing to do with resurrection. It's about spirit communication. In studies conducted around 2000, researchers discovered something fascinating. If you produce sound at the center of Stonehenge, the surrounding stones create a resonance, but they don't resonate strongly with all frequencies, only one specific frequency, 10 Hz. And 10 Hz is a very special frequency for humans. It's the frequency used for hypnosis. It matches the frequency of alpha waves in the human brain. As we know, the brain emits different types of brain waves depending on our state of consciousness. The lowest frequency is called delta waves. These range from 0.5 to 4 Hz. Infants and young children produce a lot of delta waves. Adults also produce them during deep sleep, the state of profound unconsciousness, deep slumber, when we are completely in our subconscious. Slightly higher is theta waves. Theta waves range from 4 to 7 Hz. These occur during light sleep and shallow dreaming. The third type is alpha waves, typically produced when we are relaxed, resting, or meditating. Hypnotherapists and ancient shamans are known to use this frequency. It makes people extremely susceptible to entering a hypnotic state. So those shamans 5,000 years ago already proficiently using this frequency? Exactly. They understood that this frequency could induce a semi-conscious, dream-like state. Many natural sounds are close to alpha waves, sounds that relax our brains and help us fall asleep or feel calm. For example, waves crashing on the shore, wind rustling through leaves, raindrops falling on water, flowing streams, deep rumbling thunder, all fall within this range. Above alpha waves were beta waves. Beta waves occur when we are awake and alert, engaged in normal thinking and daily activities, and the highest frequency is gamma waves. Gamma waves are associated with intense concentration, cognitive learning, and memory-related activities. Stonehenge, as it turns out, amplifies alpha waves. So, if you produce a continuous sound around 10 Hz at Stonehenge, people would become drowsy or even hypnotized, entering that half-asleep, half-awake state. So, the theory is, people travel thousands of kilometers bringing bodies here, hoping to achieve some form of spirit communication, perhaps to speak with the dead. There's more evidence linking Stonehenge to death and burial. On the outer Saxon stones, you can't see it now, but testing has revealed that they were originally carved with lots of T-shaped patterns. Mushrooms? Actually, not mushrooms. Later research identified them as axes. How did they figure out the meaning of these T-shapes? Because identical carvings were found inside coffin-like structures in ancient tombs over 640 kilometers away. And in those tombs, the meaning was clear. These were grave goods. Back then, metal objects were extremely valuable, including axes and hammers. They were precious possessions. When wealthy people died, they might be buried with actual axes and hammers. For those who couldn't afford the real thing, they would carve them on their coffins instead, so that in the afterlife, they would still have axes and hammers to use. Eventually, these carvings came to represent a deceased person. Oh, one carving, one person. So the fact that the outer Saxon stones are covered with these T-shaped carvings suggests that Many people were buried here. After someone was buried, they would carve this symbol on the stones. Since there was no writing, this was how they marked a grave. So it's a cemetery. It later became used as a burial ground. Think about it. By the time these carvings were made, metal existed, but the original builders had no metal. They were Stone Age. Later, people discovered this place and thought it would make a good cemetery. So they buried many people here. Because so many Stonehenge mysteries seem connected to what lies underground. Starting in 2003, international archaeological teams began digging in the surrounding area, digging everywhere, hoping to find something. And in 2006, they actually struck gold. They discovered the remains of a village just 3 kilometers northeast of Stonehenge. They excavated 7 houses there. There's this circle here, hard to see clearly, located at the entrance of this enclosure. This site is now called Dorrington Walls. It's not walls in the modern sense. They are earthwork embankments, so nothing too tall. Excavating 7 houses means people definitely lived here. And these houses date back to exactly 4,600 years ago, the same period as the builders. So it's possible they were the people who built it, or at least they knew how was it built. After discovering this site, archaeologists felt they were onto something. So, starting in 2007, they began scanning a huge area around Stonehenge underground. They used these sled-like vehicles with sensors underneath, dragging them across the ground, searching for buried structures. And when they did that, wow, they found 2 absolutely mind-blowing things. One was discovered in 2015. 90 massive stones buried just south of Dorrington Walls, lined up on the ground, completely invisible from the surface, just buried there. This carved structure is about 500 meters in diameter, with 90 stones, each roughly 4 meters tall, another stone circle. They named it Superhenge because it's bigger than Stonehenge itself. And then, even more incredibly, as they expanded the scan, they found over 20 shafts surrounding a vast area outside Dorrington Walls. That's Dorrington Walls right there, and around it, this entire ring of shafts. What are shafts? Shafts are vertical pits that once held stones, but these are empty now. The stones are gone. They probably once held enormous stones. Each shaft is about 10 meters wide and 5 meters deep. Massive pits. So someone took the stone, moved them. Possibly. There are over 20 of these shafts in total, and together they form a perfect circle, which means there might have been an even bigger stone circle here, with a diameter of 2 kilometers. For comparison, the stone circle we see at Stonehenge is 30 meters across. This one, 2 kilometers, could fit over 4,000 Stonehenges inside it. If this really was a stone circle, it would be the largest in the world, a super henge. But it's all underground now, not fully excavated. A couple of shafts were opened, and they found no stones inside, just rubble. So it was probably abandoned. If the entire area was inhabited, there could have been thousands of households, several thousand people. With that many people, moving these stones becomes more plausible. But food, agriculture still remains a problem. Anyway, back to the point. Besides this one, Britain actually has over 1,000 similar structures. Stone circles, ring-shaped monuments, all in Britain? Yes, and most were built around the same period. So, what makes Stonehenge unique? The lintels, the horizontal stones on top. No other stone circle in Britain has those. Every other one is just upright stones arranged in a circle. They really loved circles. Besides stone circles, they also built wooden circles, wooden henges. Built later? No, contemporary. But the wood is gone. Only the post holes remain. This is a wooden henge. Nowadays, they have put concrete pillars in the holes, replaced them. Yes, they inserted concrete markers. Can't put wood back in. It would just rot anyway. This particular wooden henge consists of 6 concentric oval rings of wooden posts, and at the very center, a body, a child's body with a fractured skull. It was discovered over 100 years ago. They sent it to London for analysis, but then war broke out. The remains now are damaged or lost. A child's burial surrounded by wood. Nobody knows. Just one body, curled up in the center. Feels highly ritualistic. This woodhenge was built sometime between 4,800 and 3,800 years ago. So, back to the main question. Why did these people, 5,000 years ago, build all these rings? Actually, we've talked before about a legendary prehistorical civilization known for building concentric circular structures, Atlantis. Atlantis, according to legend, was a nation of concentric rings, circle upon circle, located in the Atlantic Ocean. After it sank, some survivors might have made their way to Britain, and when they arrived, they built these massive stone circles. They might have possessed advanced technology or tools that allowed them to easily quarry and move these stones. But eventually, these Atlantean descendants died out, leaving behind these massive stone circles. Above are the sharings for today. What do you think of Stonehenge? Leave your thoughts to the comments. See you next time.